Listen, America. As you're settling into the comfort of your home tonight, thousands are braving the streets with no roof to call their own. Homelessness in America isn't just an issue, it's an everyday reality for more people than you can imagine. So, don't turn a blind eye. Uncover the stories of those living in the shadows of our cities. Subscribe to our channel and take a stand, because the power to spark change starts with staying informed. In America, many people find their homes in temporary lodgings or makeshift shelters, like deserted buildings. And over the last half-decade, just 10 American states have managed to decrease their homeless numbers. Looking at the big picture, 2/3 of all homeless people in America are individuals who are on their own. At the same time, 1/3 of them are families. Sadly, there's been a nearly 1% rise in homelessness across the country in the past couple of years. This statistic includes children and young adults without guardians, individuals who have been homeless for a long time, and those without a roof over their heads. If we talk about the statewide homelessness ratio in the US right now, California has the biggest number of people living on the streets, around 161,540 individuals. This makes up nearly 28% of America's overall homeless count. The reasons behind this are complex: a shortage of reasonably priced places to live, ongoing issues with substance abuse laws, and the tough task of obtaining necessary mental health services. New York ranks second in the US in terms of homelessness, accounting for approximately 15.7% of the country's total homeless population. That's a staggering 91,270 people without a stable home. The issue of homelessness in the city hit its highest point since the 1930s Great Depression, notably during Mayor Bill de Blasio's tenure. But there's a silver lining. Over the past 2 years, the number of people without homes has decreased. This is largely due to established safe havens or dedicated shelters that fast-track people into long-term accommodations. As per the data from November 2022, the homeless count in New York City was 67,000. Even the jurisdiction with the smallest count of homeless individuals is witnessing a rise. North Dakota is now economically blossoming with the oil and gas trade surge. This economic boom is attracting a large influx of job seekers. However, the escalating accommodation cost has made securing housing challenging. Many people wrongly believe that homelessness is only an issue among those living on the streets of American metropolises. Yes, big cities do host a significant number of sheltered and unsheltered homeless individuals. Still, the scope of this issue is wider. The reality is that homelessness also touches the lives of many residents in suburban neighborhoods and the countryside. This means that homelessness is not just a problem for city officials and police, but for rural communities and local governments. The National Alliance to End Homelessness shows that rural regions in America have experienced a 76% increase in homelessness since 2007. And now, in 2024, the number of homeless individuals in rural areas sits at a staggering 365,000. It's a heartbreaking reality that many of the individuals grappling with homelessness are children, often from homes plagued with domestic abuse. According to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, tracking of homelessness rates, the figures are unsettling. There are 106,300 homeless children under 18 and a further 45,200 homeless young adults between the ages of 18 and 25. A concerning statistic from the educational sector is that 2019 to 2020, schools identified as many as 1.28 million students living without a stable home. When we look at gender, more than half, 55%, of homeless youth across the country are boys, while girls make up around 40% of the total. Transgender and gender non-conforming youth are approximately 4% of this demographic. With escalating rent rates, dwindling housing supply, and insufficient social services, the housing predicament in the US is becoming increasingly severe, leaving millions without a home to call their own. Contrary to popular belief, immigration isn't the primary culprit of this surge in homelessness. In fact, the most comprehensive research in homelessness over the past quarter century, carried out by the University of California, San Francisco, pins the blame predominantly on the cost of housing. For instance, most of California's homeless are not newcomers but locals, with a vast 90% of them losing their homes within their own communities. 4 prime reasons driving homelessness are unaffordable housing, joblessness, poverty, and low income. So, let's talk about the major factor. The rising cost of housing is one of the primary factors that contributes to homelessness. As rent and property prices continue to skyrocket, many individuals and families struggle to keep up with the costs. This leads to an inability to afford stable housing and can result in people becoming homeless. Statistics show that over 10 million renters in the United States spend more than 50% of their income on housing. This leaves little money for other basic necessities like food, healthcare, and education. Rent prices have shot up 29.4% nationwide since the pandemic started. The normal rent costs around $1,980, showing a 3.3% rise compared to last year. There's also a shortage of houses, with availability plummeting to the lowest in 2 decades, a whopping 14% drop in just the previous year. The National Association of Realtors, tracking this, says it's the most significant dip they've ever seen. It's become immensely tough for families to transition into new homes in New Hampshire, with the availability of houses plummeting to less than 1%. According to the state's Congresswoman, Ann Custer, New Hampshire is experiencing a huge shortage of around 90,000 houses. On the other hand, the cost of living in New Mexico is skyrocketing, with rental rates increasing 5 times quicker than income levels since 2017. The situation poses significant challenges for individuals seeking reasonably priced accommodations. In Albuquerque, New Mexico's most populous city, the rate at which people transition from homelessness or temporary housing to secure, permanent homes is extremely low. In fact, only about 20% manage to change annually, a figure way below the national average rate. One major cause of unaffordable housing is the lack of affordable housing units. In many cities, there simply aren't enough low-income housing options available, forcing people to live in uninhabitable conditions or on the streets. The scarcity of affordable housing is compounded by gentrification, where neighborhoods are revitalized and property prices increase, pushing low-income residents out. For instance, New York City has only 46 affordable housing units for every 100 extremely low-income households. Similarly, over 500,000 people in Los Angeles are on the waiting list for affordable housing. This brings us to the second reason for this disaster to happen: joblessness. Without a stable source of income, individuals and families cannot afford housing or essential basic needs. This is especially true for those who have faced barriers to employment, such as discrimination, lack of education or skills, or a criminal record. Homeless individuals often struggle to find employment due to their lack of permanent address or phone number, making it difficult for employers to contact them. This creates a vicious cycle where individuals are unable to find housing due to unemployment and unable to find employment due to homelessness. Thirdly, poverty plays a crucial role in driving people into homelessness. Those living below the poverty line are at a higher risk of becoming homeless because they lack the financial resources to maintain stable housing. This is exacerbated by the rising living costs, making it difficult for low-income individuals to make ends meet. More than 38 million Americans are living below the poverty line, and this number continues to rise and contribute to the growing homelessness crisis. Even employed people may not earn enough to afford housing, especially in areas with high living costs. The federal minimum wage of $7.20 per hour is simply not enough to cover basic expenses like rent, food, and utilities. This forces many individuals and families into precarious living situations or onto the streets. Additionally, the gender and racial pay gap also contributes to poverty and homelessness, with women and people of color being disproportionately affected. For instance, the poverty rate for African Americans is more than twice as high as that of white Americans. This is because people of color often face systematic barriers that limit their access to education, employment, and housing opportunities. In recent years, some successful initiatives have been aimed at reducing homelessness in the United States. For instance, Housing First is a program that prioritizes providing permanent housing for individuals experiencing homelessness without preconditions such as sobriety or employment. This approach has shown promising results, with cities like Salt Lake City and Phoenix reporting significant decreases in homelessness. However, there is still a long way to go in addressing this issue. It requires collaboration and support from all levels of government, as well as community organizations and individuals. Everyone deserves a safe and stable place to call home, and it's our collective responsibility to make that happen. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it informative and thought-provoking, we urge you to like it and share it with your friends and family. Stay safe. Catch you on the flip side.